All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Hope you all had a great reading day last week. Hope you had some time to catch up, get some rest and relaxation, and also had the opportunity to go ahead. I also posted for everyone, not only this section, but also the other section, the class on with Dr. Houston, Dr. Tom Houston on the senior capstone design class that you'll be taking next year, and information on that. And so that it has been posted for everyone to view. You could view that at your earliest opportunity. I also posted in Canvas the senior advising session. So if you have questions about the senior design or the senior advising year or the graduation year and the courses and things of that nature, I do have a recording of that senior advising session. Actually, the one from last Thursday, or the Thursday section with Eric Henkel and Chrissy Stewart. And so I have that for your reference. Before we get started, I want to talk about some of the e-portfolios that I reviewed. Had a chance to grade the e-portfolios. Thank you for everyone. There's a lot of great content, a lot of great quality portfolios out there. And so I want to give a shout out and kudos for those that have developed their portfolios and put a lot of time into it. I do want to provide you some generalized feedback as it relates to the e-portfolio before we go into today's topic. Real quick, when we think about the e-portfolio, again, it's capturing who you are. It's also capturing and recording what you've learned, in the years that you've been at the University of Cincinnati and while you're on co-op. The intent is for you to look at it from a broader perspective and think about what you have done over the years, okay, what you have accomplished, and where do we go from here? So I think that's the biggest thing to keep in mind when we think about e-portfolios, okay? What you're going to do with this is, you're going to be updating it. You're going to be thinking about how you could use this for the future, or how do I develop this for the class? I get that, but here's some general comments on the grading and what I saw from the portfolios for this section only. I will say that I graded for completion because I know that you will develop it in time. A lot of you stated that in your portfolio that your pictures are not complete or you're not done. I get that. When we get towards the end, keep in mind that when we get towards the end of the semester, we have to get closer to a finished product, okay? So here's some general comments to keep in mind. First of all, when we think about the portfolio overall, right? This is your chance to communicate a side of you that is unique, a side of you that I may not know anything about. There's one of us in this group who is an aspiring artist. There's several of us in here that are musicians. But when we think about you as the engineer and with that context, how are you unique? Okay, so this is an opportunity to present a side of you that is not only endearing, but also a quality that presents an opportunity for you to sort of give a personal side to yourself. Okay. Second, you've put, some of you have placed some images on in your portfolio. One thing to think about is, how do those images tell the story of who you are? Okay. Some of you posted pictures of your travels. Some of you posted pictures of your passions. Some of you posted pictures of your pictures that where you were staged and you were in a setting. Okay. The images tell a story. Expand on that. At the same time, also, some of you have identified clip art as symbolic of what? Okay. If you selected the photos as a way to say, yeah, this is kind of cool, it'll make Rich interested, that's fine to a certain extent, but there's a reason why you identified those photos. Expand on that. Okay. The big thing is when we think about the portfolios. You created specific aspects of the portfolio to be yours. Okay. So how do you make it how do you make it unique to you? That's the thing that I'm trying to get at here. Many of you have some what I call template fodder, materials in the template that were there because it was something that you downloaded or something that you copied from a master version. I get that. Again, as we refine the pages, as we develop this portfolio further, my expectation is that you'll be cleaning up some of that. There's a lot of text placeholders in the portfolios that I've seen. If you would either put something in there or clean it up, okay? At the same time, also, when we think about the layout, the photos, again, so, you know, one portfolio had aspects of a company, and I think it was making soap, right? If that was your co-op job, that's great, but I didn't see that in PAL. But you know, again, my expectation is as we add more and more pages to your e-portfolios, I expect that the quality and the completeness of your portfolio will be further developed as we near the end of the semester. Okay. Are there any general questions about the e-portfolio at this time? Okay, the presentation is very blurry. Let me switch cameras. Okay, is that better? How about now? That's fantastic. Okay, great, thank you. All right. So today's topic is focused on career planning, goal setting. I think when we think about goals, you know, everyone has a goal, right? My philosophy is that it is almost near impossible to identify what your 10-year plan is from now. Okay, a lot of companies will say, "What's your you know, your goals from here on out?" You know, goals are very simplistic, but at the same time also very common amongst us. But again, how do we further define that? How do we make it our own? Okay, it's very similar to the e-portfolio. And so I think bigger picture, when we think about goal setting, it's the how as it relates to more specifically how you plan on creating this goal. What time frames are you planning on setting for yourself, and things of that nature. Okay. To kick us off, I do have a short video for you for us to sort of set the tone as we move forward.
Goal setting is a powerful tool in increasing productivity. In fact, setting goals can increase your productivity by 11 to 25%. But actually setting and working towards goals can be challenging. So let's get smart about goals. S, specific. Ask yourself what you want to accomplish. And most importantly, why? M, make it measurable. Are you able to tell when you've reached your goal? A, attainable. Goals should stretch you so you feel excited, but within your current ability. R, relevant. Set goals that are going to positively impact your life. Does this goal fit in with your other life's goals and dreams? T, time-based. A goal with a time deadline will create a sense of urgency and give you the energy you need to complete it. Finally, once you achieve your goal, it's time to celebrate and set the next goal.
So that was just a quick video of what we mean by goals and how do we set, you know, specifically SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, time-based. and timely. I think bigger picture, when we think about goals, do the gap analysis. Where are you now, right? And where do you want to be? Um, those are things to consider. When we think about goals, we could think about from a 3 to 5 year time span. More specifically, what would be the desired state? What outcome do you want to see moving at that time frame, at the end of the time frame that we're examining here? When I think about specific organizations that I work with, we plan in a 3 to 5 year span, and within that span, we do the gap analysis. We identify where are we now, what's our current state of affairs, and then where do we want to be. And not only as an organization, but I also try to push in terms of quality of life and characteristics and within each other, right? So specifically for you, do the gap analysis. When we think about the current state, yes, you're an engineering student, mechanical engineering student. You're entering your final co-op semester. You'll be completing 4 years of your academic curriculum. Okay, current state. Some of you may say personally that you're fulfilled. Some of you are still striving to fulfillment. Okay. What's the desired state? Is the desired state? Yes, I get it. It's a job, but as it relates to the work, what's the quality of life? When we think about that quality of life, is it you're accomplished? You have a specific salary? Is it ownership of a specific thing like a house, a car? What's the desired state? Right? And then the gap analysis is your action plan. Okay. And so one of the things that I offer to you is, looking at your Clifton Strengths report and actually looking at your Clifton Strengths in a way for that analyses moving towards a desired state. Within Clifton Strengths, we see it as the idea of three things. And it's name it, claim it, and then aim it. Okay, once again, name it in the idea of identifying the talents of the words or phrases within your Clifton Strengths report that actually describe you, right? That specifically resonate with you, right? When we think about the idea of claim it is the idea of internalizing that definition, right? And then broadly aim it. And it's the idea of appreciating the power and opportunities of your strengths, okay? And then at the same time also help yourself develop a sense of responsibility for furthering those strengths, okay? When we get into more detail, when we think about the idea of name it, look at your signature theme report, okay? If you have it close by, or if you have it easily accessible, look at it, okay? When we think about your top 5, what 2 or 3 strengths speak closely to you, right? And then when you think about those 2 or 3 strengths that really resonate with you, clarify for yourself, what does that mean, right? When we think about the idea of claim it, right? Here's an example of someone claiming their signature theme. So when we think about the idea of, and this may be blurry for you in the picture here, but if you have woo in your top 5, and there's about 3 or 4 students within the 2050 classes that have woo, right? And I'm not saying this is you, but as an example of someone that has claimed the woo theme or signature strength, that person, when they think about the theme of woo, they're saying that they enjoy meeting and reaching out to people. They enjoy bringing energy to social situations. They can connect with others and help people connect with each other. And then they love to draw people out of their shells. Okay. So when you think about that theme, what is it about that theme that resonates with you? Okay. And do that for about 2 or 3. And then finally, when we think about the idea of aiming it, here are some questions to keep in mind. When you aim a theme, when you're aiming a signature strength, a signature theme or a Clifton strength, what is the biggest challenge you're currently facing, right? Something to keep in mind. What are your goals in the next 90 days or 6 months? Okay. In another sense, what are your goals, within the next co-op semester or within the next year? Right? And then how might your signature themes, your strengths, or your talents help you tackle those challenges? Okay. When you take it a step further and broaden that a little bit, here are 3 things to keep in mind. 1, paint a vivid picture of what success will look like. Again, that desired state. What does that look like? Okay. The goal that you have must be inspiring. When we think about inspiring, it's the big, hairy, audacious idea, right? Or the BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal. Okay. And then another way of aligning this to who you are is, how are your goals consistent with your values and your strengths and talents? Okay. So real quick, think about it. Think about one theme, one of your 5. Okay. Go back to the idea of naming that goal, that theme, right? Real quick. Think of that signature theme, jot some notes, or mentally, why do you think that aligns with you? What resonates with you about that theme or that strength? Okay. Internalize it. Next step. Think about, what you've learned about that Clifton strength that is actually truly you, right? And many of you have reflected that in your part 2. Okay. And that's why I'm bringing it up at this time. Many of you have internalized what that looks like, what that signature theme is, or that strength, right? The next step is really, again, aim it, right? What is the next challenge? How would your strengths help you, when we think about that future context for yourself? Okay. So when we think about strengths, this is sort of the name it, claim it, aim it idea is more so a way for you to develop the gap analysis, if you will, of your current state and your desired state when we think about goals. Okay. To put it in another sense, when we think about the idea of where you go from here, bigger picture, your career. Okay. I do want to point out some websites that may be helpful for you as we drive this idea of what do you want to do when you get out of college, aka adulthood, aka put on your adult pants. Okay. I want to direct you to these 3 websites. The first one is Career Shift, and then Career One Stop, and then ONET. And so let's see here. When we think about I'll go first with ONET, because ONET is the one site that actually gives you some context and some things to think about when it comes to where you want to go from here. Okay. Here we have the ONET website, and again, it's on the. I have this in Canvas, but it's onetonline.org. Okay, if you want to follow along. So ONET is an occupational dictionary, and it is greatly maintained, primarily maintained by the federal government and the Department of Labor. Okay. Specifically for the purposes of what we're talking about and the idea of goal setting and things of that nature, this is more of a career exploration of what's to come. Where do you want to be? A desired state, if you will. So let's say, for example, you want to be a mechanical engineer. You could type in the occupation on the upper right corner, and it gives you a list of occupations and codes. The codes are associated with occupational codes as dictated by the federal government. We use these codes primarily not only in terms of classifying jobs, but actually identifying opportunities for growth and economic development. I personally use these codes as it relates to some of our grant writing. But again, for the purposes that you're going to be using it for, let's look at it from a sense of, you want to go into mechanical engineering, but what's available to you, right? So here's a list, right, of potential jobs or occupations related to mechanical engineering. And let's just, for simple purposes, select mechanical engineers, okay? Here you have on this website really a significant amount of knowledge to use, okay? And so more specifically, I'm going to increase the screen here. You have a general description on the very top and potential job titles, okay? I point this out because when you think about that job after graduation, use these potential titles. Don't type in just mechanical engineer, right? You could use design engineer, equipment engineer, process engineer, product engineer, test engineer, industrial engineer. So these are potential search terms to use in, say, Indeed.com or any job search website. Okay. And then what you have here are a series of lists and information resources to sort of help you understand not only the occupation, but what is in demand. And so, for example, when we think about the tasks that an engineer typically does, these are just 5 of 28 different tasks that engineers do. This is a potential opportunity to use this task list to see if these tasks are in your resume right now, okay? If they are, consider using this language, right, and incorporating this language in your resume. And the reason why I say that is when you submit a resume to a company and there is an automated text search, right? Nowadays HR uses systems that will scan resumes based on keywords, okay? These tasks are potential keywords to use on your resume. When we think about technology skills, right? When we think about your skills specifically in your resume as it relates to co-op, there's a basic list. But here you have skills that really are potentially in demand. So for example, Autodesk Revit is an in-demand skill set. MATLAB is a skill set. Microsoft Visio is a skill set that is showing up more and more in employer postings, okay? So just these are skills to keep in mind. If you have it, great. Then if you have these hot skills, you have an indicator that you're gonna be in demand later on down the line, okay? When we think about knowledge, again, it's that skills list, right? Here's a typical list of knowledge base topics for you to make sure that you have some knowledge in or some information accessible, okay? When we think about other skills, these are the softer skills, the human interaction skills, okay? More specifically, active listening, critical thinking, and communication are 3, and I know communication is not listed here, but active listening, critical thinking, and communication are probably 3 of the most highly sought after skills, soft skills, that employers have for potential employees, okay? We also have abilities. There's skills and then abilities, right? And then later on, work activities. These work activities are more so things that you may be doing on the job, okay? We go farther down. There's sort of a list of work context. While you know from co-op what is demanded of an engineer most of the time, this information right here on the work context sort of helps you get an understanding if you want to move industries, okay? Going farther down, you'll notice that a bachelor's degree is highly sought after. And then if there's information on and links to potential credentials, okay? Work styles, again, highly sought after work styles or typical work styles in this work environment, okay? And then work values, right? The related occupations list here gives you an opportunity to expand on that one job, in this case mechanical engineer, to consider other occupations. Okay. The one thing I strongly want to point out are wage and employment trends. Now, when we think about the wage and employment trends, these are different from what I typically cite. Namely because this is not only the hourly rate and the salary that's listed here is actually for all jobs, okay? The data that I typically cite and report out is data of recent graduates, okay? So that's why there's a huge difference between what I'm talking about and what I'd say typically versus what's presented in the employment trends. You'll notice in terms of projected growth, there is a 3 to 4% growth between 2019 and 2029. Okay, we are projecting a significant amount of job openings for mechanical engineers. I've been saying this for years, where within the next, actually, I've been saying starting in 2023, there will be a brain drain within the highly technical fields like mechanical engineering, namely because we have a significant number of people going into retirement. The pandemic has accelerated that rate and has accelerated the number of engineers going into retirement or going into management. And so with that said, this 3 to 4% average may be a little higher due to the pandemic. Okay. And then from here, you could also identify specific trends among other states, if not Ohio, elsewhere. Okay, so that's just something to keep in mind. And then there's just additional resources and also a link for job openings. The job openings link here is actually linked to many databases, but the one database that I will refer you to that's more comprehensive is actually CareerShift. Okay, so again, this page and this website provides you general information about that desired state. Not only how moving towards what you could be doing in terms of a career, but more importantly, the text, the language to use to articulating what that looks like, and then more importantly, at helping you identify what those career expectations are. Okay. The next website I want to show you is CareerShift. And if you haven't done so already, it's uceng.careershift.com. Okay. CareerShift is a paid platform. And when you log in using the link uceng.careershift.com, and again, that's on Canvas, you have access to the paid access that is facilitated by the College of Engineering. The College of Engineering and Applied Science has paid for licenses for all of its students. Okay, so really DAP folk, the DAP design students or the business students do not have access to CareerShift the way engineering students do. Okay, so as an example, again, when we think about that job search, you have a variety of options to choose from. Let's go to the actual job search. We're going to type in mechanical engineer. And we're going to do a general search. Okay. You can identify based on region, but we're just doing a broad search here. Okay. And again, when we think about these positions, these are positions that are not only posted by the company website, but also through Indeed. Okay, so it does list the source of the website. So, for example, for this mechanical engineering position for Legion, right? This is a full-time permanent job after graduation. They'll tell you what the source is. Okay, so just keep that in mind. When you click on it, it'll take you directly to the website for you to apply. After the computer stops. Oh, there you go. Okay. So again, when you click on some of the information, oh, this doesn't exist. So the company updated its posting. Let's try another one. Let's try Jacobs. Okay, and again, this is directly off the company website. When you do look for positions, make sure you keep an eye on the job ID number, and then make sure that you keep track of the job description. Okay. So Career Shift is that one website that allows you the opportunity to search for jobs based on specific keywords. You could also search based on companies and contacts. When you think about specific companies, I'm going to search for a company here. I'm going to search for Porsche. The Porsche North American headquarters is in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's be a little more specific in the search. Porsche. I misspelled Porsche, sorry. There you go. And so from here, you could click on the company. It gives you some general information, but the other part is there are company contacts. So if you are interested in reaching out to a specific individual within the company, the contact information and interfaces with LinkedIn. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Okay. So those are two main websites. The third website is Career One Stop, and that's the final. And again, that is on Canvas. It's very much similar to ONET. I would probably say that Career One Stop is a very broad and generalized website that provides information not only on things like skills, salaries, and assessments, but also job searching tools and resources like resume writing and things of that nature. Okay, Career One Stop is a very broad career exploration tool sponsored by the U.S. government. But again, I would probably direct you to ONET because when we think about some of the information that Career One Stop puts out there, it links to ONET anyway. So I would probably go to ONET directly. Okay. I did mention this Pinterest board 2 weeks ago for your reference. It does provide some suggestions, tools, some information for you to access as you start developing a broader job search for positions after graduation. There are some things I do want to point out as we look at the job search for after graduation. Okay, and so one of the things I want to cover real quickly are resumes. And when we think about resumes back then, when some of you had me for intro to co-op, it was very specific, right? Meaning you had to have it a specific way. You could not include specific details, right? That statement of references available upon request is something that I typically say don't include because we're your reference, right? Well, whatever I told you or whatever we told you back then to take out of your resume, consider putting it back in. Okay. And more specifically, the objective statement. Okay. When we think about your co-op, take a step back here. When we think about your co-ops and where you've been, right? How would you describe it? So if you had to write a objective statement or a summary qualifications, right? Big picture, if you had to fill it in, what would it be? Right? You could say 5 semesters or 20 months of full-time work experience in insert industry, developing skills and insert KSA skills, knowledge, skills, and abilities. Desiring position as a blank. Okay. And so when we think about an objective statement or a summary qualifications, it provides a focus for your search. The thing about your resume back then, when we were thinking, as it relates to co-op and searching for a co-op job, we were sending one resume to multiple employers, right? When we think about your job search after graduation, you're sending one resume to one employer, and that resume may change. That cover letter may change. Cover letter, more on cover letters in a moment. But when we think about your resume, develop a master resume, but then you're going to have to think about, and as you apply for different jobs after for that job after graduation, or different employers for that job after graduation, you're going to have to provide a little more focus. Okay. At the same time, it's an indication to the employer what kind of position you want or kind of role you want, right? So when we think about the objective statement, there are three different types of objective statements. One is that a position, where you're being specific. And you could say, if you're applying for a position with Honeywell as a process engineer in Phoenix, Arizona, you could say, desire a position as a process engineer. Okay. Or if you're looking to go in a specific field and you're using the same resume for multiple companies. So as an example here, if you're looking to go in the pharmaceutical industry and you're giving your resume to Thermo Fisher Scientific, Eli Lilly, and Pfizer, right? You could say seeking an entry-level position in the pharmaceutical industry. Or you may think about more broadly and say that you want to hone in on specific skills, right? And you could say that you're desiring a position tapping into your design, analyses, and project management skills. So when we think about some elements of the resume, the objective statement is one to bring back in and incorporate into the resume. That bottom statement, references available upon request, put that back in there. Broader picture, what I'm trying to get at is we're moving you away from that co-op resume to more so the resume that you need for the job after graduation. Okay, the resume though is just one aspect of the job search. Okay, you do have to consider developing a cover letter. The cover letter is, I have to admit, a very traditional tool in the job search process, but it also serves as a prime example of your written communication skills. Okay, so when we think about that cover letter, it's not only that example of your written communication skills, but your reflection of why you're interested in the job. And it's also an example of how you can clearly articulate what you're good at. Okay. So there is a general formula when we think about cover letters. It's this. First paragraph, tell them why you're interested, right? And more importantly, tell them where you got the information from, okay? One of the things that employers have to do and companies have to do as they have applicants apply for jobs, they have to report to the federal government where the candidates got the information. Is it off the company website? Is it off of Indeed? Is it off of insert job search tool? Okay, and so for many companies, they have to report that to the federal government, but it also is an indicator of where people are actually looking for their jobs. Okay. The second paragraph is a little background and value sell, more specifically, why you are qualified for the job. And you could start off by saying, quote unquote, as you review my resume, you will see that I have up to 5 semesters of full-time work experience in mechanical engineering, period. These experiences, fill in the blank, okay? The key here is when we think about that second paragraph, look at the job description. What is it asking for? If you have those skills and those experiences, point that out, right? So the second paragraph is a way for you to tell the story, if you will, of your experiences, your journey here at the university, but more importantly, telling a reviewer how to review your resume. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. The second paragraph or the middle portion of your cover letter is supposed to provide some direction on what people should be looking for in your cover letter or in your resume. Sorry. And then the final thing is closing. And it's more so, I appreciate your time. Look forward to hearing from you for an interview. I could be reached at blank. Thank you, and then thank you, right? And so, that's the basic formula of what to do with a cover letter. And the link to Pinterest that I have on Canvas could provide you some examples and also some other ways to develop your cover letter. Some key things about the cover letter: the top portion of your cover letter should match what's on your resume in terms of the contact information. Be precise and concise, but at the same time also spell check. Okay. You would not believe the numbers of resumes and cover letters that had misspellings or incorrect punctuations, or people were just not paying attention to detail. Okay, so the cover letter is another way of showing that you are paying attention to detail. Right? Focus on what you can do for the employer. Why are you worthy of an interview? What's the value add to a company? Okay, and then once you have one cover letter, you could tailor it and customize it, and add to it as you as you go from one job to the next, submitting your application. Okay, so those are just some general information and some tips on the cover letters. We talked about the resume. We talked about goal setting. I do want to share with you and show you where all that information is in Canvas real quick. Here on Canvas is that page after, from the learning module. Okay, and it's all the way down here. When we think about some of the videos here, I want to point out one, the goal setting video that we showed at the beginning of class, and then one on graduate school. I do have information for you on the graduate programs here at the university. This is Professor Eugene Rutz sharing information on not only the MS courses or MS program, MS in engineering, but also the MEng, the Masters of Engineering program. Okay. When we think about the MS versus the MEng, the MS is more theoretical, more research-based. The MEng is more so practitioner-based. Okay, and so one of the things to keep in mind when you think about graduate school, if you want to further your education, further your knowledge, it is worthy of consideration. Think about where your goals later on down the line for yourself, and how does a graduate degree play into that? Okay, so for example, there are some folks that actually are considering a role in academia, being a professor in mechanical engineering. this presentation may be helpful for you. I do have, again, these resources, these links to the websites that I showed you earlier as it relates to CareerShift and ONET. Again, CareerShift is a paid platform for University of Cincinnati engineering students. So please consider that when we think about your careers. Big picture, okay? When it comes to goal setting and when it comes to career planning, you have pretty much less than 18 months left when you think about your college career, okay? Now's the time to start planning. Many of you are considering that when you think about that career after graduation. Some of you are considering that through your co-op employer. That's great, but bigger picture, right? Where do you want to go after you graduate? Okay. Again, when we think about that idea of planning, right? What is that desired state? Utilize for a gap analysis. Think about your Clifton strengths. Think about how you can use your strengths to develop goals and goals to achieve not only within the next 6 months, but also within the year and beyond. Okay. Other than that, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.